Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Net That Haul for Double Game Week 28. We are joined today, of course, by two old friends of mine. Except Casey's younger, but Garth's pretty old.
For the geriatric crew.
That's right. That's right. Here, so I'm Gabe at FPL Lens. Welcome to Net That Haul. Here, joining me today is Casey at FPL_Tornado and FPL Shark, our good friend Garth. How are you guys? How you doing, Casey?
I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy to see you. It's been too long. I know we chat, but it's been a real long time.
Good to be on. A privilege and an honor. You guys have been knocking it out of the park for as long as you have been. So yeah, this is good. This is a good opportunity. So thank you.
Well, you guys trained me. You guys brought me in from plucked me out of the Twitter sphere and threw me into the content creation world, and I couldn't leave. So I thank you guys for that.
We did. We plucked you out of obscurity, mate, and made you into a superstar. So
you made me the person I am today, my friend.
Oh dear.
No doubt about that.
Mr. Miyagi over here.
So just to timestamp this for everyone, this is the first Net That Haul show that is all in the Americas. So we're all in North America, and it is 1:04 p.m. Mountain Time. What time is it where you are, Casey?
3. I'm on the East Coast, so it's fairly newly on the East Coast. We almost had all of the time zones covered at one point.
That's true, and well, that's our goal here at the Hall. Now we've got East Coast in. We do Singapore, we've done India, UK. So we're covering the globe here. Let's move on to Minileague and I want to see who's in the chat and say hello to some people. So I put the Minileague up there, but before I get there, I want to look at the chat here and say hi. Well, Blue Danube guy, we had a bunch of people come in earlier because obviously Mariner and Nima are away, and so things get a little crazy when those two guys are away, because honestly, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what all these buttons do, so this is going to be very casual, and I'm going to try to press as few buttons as possible.
No, press them all. Press them all like you're on an elevator. See what they do.
Yeah, see how that works out. It didn't work out for me as a kid, so I don't know that it'll work out for me as an adult. So earlier this morning, we had Mike Halpin in here and Rubber Ducky saying quack, quack as usual. Blue Danube guy was in here this morning as well, and he was also the first back in here this afternoon. So nice to see you, Blue Danube guy. Dread was also on this morning, as was Matthew Locke, and FPL Saffir. But now let's get to this afternoon. This afternoon, we are joined again, obviously, by Blue Danube guy. Don't know if anyone's with them. We have Eero Oikarinen. Excuse my pronunciation if that was wrong. It felt wrong.
Love the finish.
Right. We have Kevin, FPL Saffir, is in here. Nehal is in here as usual. Nice to see you, Nehal. Podna was up to you as well. Matthew Locke, he says he's been here for 5 hours, so I guess he gets the prize today. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Now let's move on to the mini league, because I know this is the part that Mariner's waiting for. I'm going to start from the bottom. We have number 10 with 1867 points, total points scored. He scored 51 game week 10. Bit of a red arrow there, but that's Stefan in an upside down name. That's what she said, upside down. I don't know what that means. We have Tierney's Tesco bag coming in at number 9. Safeguards coming in, Khaled Bedaki at number 8. Dekong FPL Planner, Tengo, number 7. Los Pollos Hermanos at number 6. Payne and Diaz, number 5. Template FC at number 4. Brad Curry's Pfizer Chiefs, who've been top 3 pretty much all season, at number 3 with 58 points this week. Number 2, FPL_Milanista Obaid or Eid, coming in with 60 points this week. And topping the mini league with 58 points at an overall rank of 58 is our very own Chris at FPL Mariner, which is insane that he's at a 58 rank. Never even sniffed that before.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah,
right?
no pressure, Garth. You just have to be at 58 overall rank in, I don't know, the next couple of weeks, and then you've earned your place on the pod.
I'm a shade short of 1,900 points by 250 points.
Yeah, well, that's what your wild card's for, right?
That's like the shade of an eclipse, Garth.
Your wild card, that's an easy 200-300 points right there, right?
It's going to have to be. Yeah.
No pressure on that wild card. Jones Bloke has joined us as well. So hello, Jones Bloke. Guys, the next thing on the menu here is a weekly piece called it's the FPL Philosophy, and this is obviously one of my favorite pieces because it came through, it kind of like developed organically just because the fans liked it. So here we go. Here's the FPL Philosophy of the week. Before I get to it, actually, see, these are the things I forget, these structure things. Let's get to some housekeeping. Please do like it, subscribe to our channel, like our pod, give us a 5-star review, do all the good things for us to get us known so we can grow. The more people like us, the more things we can do in our show. And we do also have a join option. We have one member of NetxG Haul right now, Robbie at Robman Gunsong on Twitter. He's our member. If you hit that join button, you can support us, buy us a cup of coffee. So for those late nights when we're making the show. So the FPL Philosophy of the week is in honor actually of Women's History Month. So if you are in the US or the UK or Australia, you are celebrating Women's History Month this month of March. So it comes, I go back to like an old favorite of mine. I used Maya Angelou a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going back to her because I do think it very much applies to life, obviously, but also to FPL, especially as we're considering wild cards and different strategies and different ways to maybe make up the little bit of shade, the 250 points between Garth and Mariner. So the quote goes as follows: "If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be." And this one's dedicated to you, Garth.
Take hits is basically what that says in FPL terms.
This is the Garth strategy, honestly. Like his wild cards, like he's got like Matic captain, and it's just like those are the sort of things that you always get with Garth. Yeah. And they're worse in the chat. Like the ones he sends us, the drafts he sends us, before the wild card is triggered, is always even wilder than the ones that we try to talk them out of. Like, I mean, are you sure you want to do like quadruple or like a triple up on Norwich defense, Garth? That seems like a pretty bold strategy. Like they're always very weird. So
he's like, you're right, I'll get Pookie.
Right, yeah, you're right. Yeah, their attack is worth investing in too. They got a double this week. I haven't heard anyone talk about that ultimate differential for you there.
Maybe. No.
the
That's
thing
how you
about
make
the thing
250 points up, right? That's the hat trick from Pookie that you captain. And
yeah, I don't even think I could do that.
That's worked for you in the past, though. Maybe not with Pookie, but you are the Vardy whisperer. You've known in seasons past to be the Vardy whisperer, and those types of players where people call them trolls. Like you sail those crests, those waves. So this season has been a little tougher for you. But it's not over yet. Don't
talk about Vardy too loud. People might bring him in.
Yeah, true.
All right, guys, we are going to move on to some content here. So I was doing a piece on Villa for this week, right? And then I don't know, something that drew me to like the Bielsa story, and I obviously it was sad to see him go. I thought it was just really interesting to see like fans, like a manager get fired and the fans kind of lamenting, even though accepting that maybe it was the right call or at least understanding that perspective. But I thought the signing of Jesse Marsch, while it makes sense from philosophically, I was wondering about like what they were thinking in terms of like how he would solve Bielsa's problems. So I went back to some friends of ours. We made some good friends at the people of Total Football Analysis. They did a great video last year on Jesse Marsch, and I wanted to share kind of like some of the things that they had and just talk through what we can expect from Jesse Marsch at Leeds. So instead of the matchups or like the statistical matchups I did like last week, this week we're going to take a look at a little, I guess, coach scouting of Jesse Marsch. So Leeds have a very interesting double, right? Against they are away to Leicester and home to Villa. And Jesse Marsch is interesting. Here I have 9 different formations up on the board. Jesse Marsch is known to play a 4-2-2-2. But what he says is that the formations are less important, and what's more important in a game are like the circumstances. So I'm going to go just kind of left. I'm going to go through this rather quickly because and I'll explain kind of each pitch for the people in the podcast. So the top left, we have a 4-2-2-2, right? Where you have the back four, and then you have kind of 2 defensive midfielders, and the two midfielders in front of them, they're not really wide like in other 4-2-2-2s, because what Marsch likes to do, he likes to keep the flanks open for wingbacks to go to penetrate in there. But what he likes to do is he likes his attackers to run towards the goal. So what you see there is I've highlighted Rafinha in each of these images, like where I expect Rafinha to play. And you see there's one arrow pointing towards the center, kind of like he'll be penetrating in between the 2 strikers. And that's where Marsch will want him to go. And then the other is going outside. And I think that arrow is supposed to be indicative of what Rafinha likes to do naturally. He likes to have that decision and make the decision himself. So I put both of them there, kind of one to indicate the manager and one to indicate the player. And you see this kind of replicated throughout these images. Based on this 4-2-2-2, like say in the first 2 slides there, in the first 2 pitches, how do you guys see this dynamic playing out? If Rafinha do you think he'll be able to make those choices, or do you think Marsch is going to force him to always go inside like he has done? So all of these images are from the Salzburg team, our Salzburg. So I don't know how you guys see Rafinha, his role evolving in Marsch's attack.
Yeah, so this is very much like obviously the RB Ralph Ragnick line of thinking. Of course, we saw how terrible the 4-2-2-2 fit United. I'm interested to see if it fits Leeds better. But for Rafinha, it's very difficult. I think one thing we've seen a lot of him doing in the last couple of weeks, which I think has been good, is finding the back post when he's out of possession. So it'll be interesting to see how much he holds and hogs the ball. I think a lot of that's going to depend on, how much possession they have, really. I think on the counter, I think you're going to see him go wide. And I imagine that Marsch is going to try to get him to be more central when they're in possession, kind of more sustained possession. And at least that's what I would do if I was his manager. Because he's been so peripheral when they've been in position. He's so naturally in good positions when they're on the counter. But he tends to seek the ball and drift wide when they have possession. And that just takes him completely out of play. And hopefully they see that and say, stop drifting to the ball wide. Start taking up more central positions because you're our most creative playmaker. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I'd hope that he kind of has the option in transition, because he usually makes the best decisions that way. But I hope maybe the manager gets him to be more central when they're maybe facing an organized defense that's not out of position. But we'll see. I don't know. It kind of feels like meet the new boss, same as the old boss, but less loved. That's kind of what it feels like for this hire. But we'll see. Maybe he'll figure it out. I think it's a personnel issue more than a tactics issue with Leeds. So I don't know.
What do you think, Garvis? Is Rafinha worth investing in?
I've had him since game week 1, so can't really comment. But yeah, looking at this, I think they'll target the slower centre backs with Leeds and Aston Villa. they're not super mobile, right? So I think when in possession of the ball, I think you'll see Rafinha cutting inside and attacking and running at those two centre backs. And the reason I think they're going to favour that over sort of going down the outside is because they don't have anyone in the box. They don't have an out-and-out fox in the box goal scorer that's going to be making good of crosses coming in from the wide. So I think you'll see a lot more of this attacking through the middle, and then him sliding balls between the centre back and the full back for strikers to pick up on, rather than going down the outside and whipping crosses in and trying to get on the end of them. I don't think that's the way that Leeds are going to play, especially with Bamford out. Although I did see today that he's back in training, so he's probably a couple of weeks out. But certainly for these two games, I think you'll be seeing him cut inside.
Do you think Dan James stays up top then, and is the right-hand striker with Rodrigo on the left? Is that what we expect then?
I think so. Unless he's and I don't think he's going to give Gerhardt an opportunity. You wouldn't do that coming in as a new manager. You'd have to play those players that have been playing just to see what happens, and then perhaps, break Gerhardt in gently over those two games. He'll probably come on for like 20 minutes just so he can see him.
He looks so much better when Gerhardt plays, which is unfortunate because he just takes up the actual natural striker positions, and Rodrigo definitely doesn't do that. And Dan James is like, I don't even know what he does other than run around.
Yeah, no, I think they'll stick with what they know, and I was eyeing up Gerhardt for these two games before Bielsa got let go, because I thought he would start, but that's not going to happen now, I don't think.
I think maybe the personnel decisions will be based on their ability to counterpress. Jesse Marsch is famous for having said losing the ball can be a good thing. And so when Jesse Marsch went from Salzburg to Leipzig, when he first got to Leipzig, he had COVID, right? So he didn't really connect with the locker room. And then he came in and he's taking over a Nagelsmann team that was a team based in possession. And he's coming in with the message of losing the ball is a good thing. So he faced a lot of just kind of cultural pushback, I think. And I think he might encounter the same here. I mean, Bielsa wants to keep the ball, right? And if he comes in not caring whether he keeps the ball, and then the other thing is he counterpresses. When he counterpresses, he says one thing that he does, that Jesse Marsch does, is his back line. He's okay with the back line marking man to man. He says he doesn't need an extra player there because he likes his chances of winning the ball higher up the pitch. So he'll commit that many more players forward and leave his back line. Can you imagine the Leeds back line 1v1? That's insane. That's madness, right? So
maybe I should bring in Coutinho. I don't know.
Those floated balls over the top for these two games, it's going to happen.
Yep.
You'll see it just fly over the top of their heads, and the likes of Daka and Ollie Watkins, who have got pace to burn. If they're running beyond a defender to receive a ball over the top, then you might fill your boots here.
And is Rafinha going to be spent? Is he going to spend his energy on the counter press? It's I don't know. I have a lot of reservations about this, but what I do like here is, Jesse Marsch is very much about efficiency in play, and so for that reason, I think Rafinha will be given liberty. He'll be given liberty to go inside and outside or wherever he wants. We see him in the third slide there at the top. That's kind of like it's a 4-4-2. It's a diamond 4-4-2. So they'll play that when he wants, when Marsch wants to pressure the opposing defensive midfielder. They have a playmaking defensive midfielder, for example. He may play the diamond 4-4-2. I put Rafinha there at that 10 spot because that's where I think he would be maximized in terms of attacking, but I don't know that he's the best one to close down opposing defensive mids. So could that maybe move Rafinha even to the front too? Potentially. I'm not sure.
I think it's just too early to know, but we know that he's their most important attacker. and they double this week. They have, is it Watford in 29? Who do they have? I know they have a pretty decent fixture in 29. And then they also play in 30. So it's one of those situations where it's like, just from a logistics standpoint, you got to put him in at least, or if you have him, you hold them. Maybe he's not your number one priority this week, but we're all on wild cards. I haven't even considered not having him. I just think at 6'5", he's really good. He's got, he's one of the few players that have 4 fixtures in the next 3 weeks, and and he's a good budget option.
He has Norwich in 29, I think.
Yeah, Norwich in 29. 100% agree. And
so it's like he doubles this week. If he blanks in both, then you get 4 points. So be it, but then you turn it right back around. They got Norwich, and then they have a fixture in 30, which is about all you can ask for right now, unless you're setting up to be ideal in 30, which I don't think any of the matchups are fantastic in 30. No. So
I wouldn't captain him.
No. I guess if there were people that were lingering, that lingering, like, hey, Leeds, they're gonna. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. What I think we've learned maybe over the last year more than anything else is just how good Calvin Phillips is. Like how unbelievably good he is. He makes Leeds like a Premier League team, because without him, they're not a Premier League team. And he was obviously great for England over the summer. His watching him play in that team. It's actually amazing that he makes them even like a team that's so dysfunctional, functional just by himself.
Yeah, they'll struggle to keep him this summer.
Oh yeah, if I were United or something like that. People talking about, they should bring in Rice. It's like, no. You should be bringing Calvin Phillips. Should be top of your list. Rice is like
break the bank.
Yeah, Calvin Phillips is so much better than Declan Rice. I don't think it's even close.
Yep.
Any other final thoughts here before on Jesse Marsch or Leeds? I think Leeds might go down. I gotta be honest.
I think they're going down. I don't think you can save this year.
To see them turning it around. I don't think Marsch is the type of manager that does turn it around, but I could very much be wrong. Them getting healthy is going to be the bigger thing, because I know Phillips is close. I know that Bamford is close. So maybe just by getting them back, it might be enough to get them over the hump. But they're going to be, I guarantee they'd bite your hand off for 17th right now. Absolutely. So... Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the player. Let's look at the FDRs next. Mariner was kind enough to get into his broken metrics and send me this somehow. I don't know how he's doing it. He's in the middle of nowhere with barely any connection. And but here we go. So Gameweek 28. I mean, obviously Liverpool all the time, every time. The obvious, it's 5.9, the attacking FDR there against home to West Ham. The other ones that are kind of like, they're well below. We see the next one is at 3.7, Leicester against Leeds. I don't see any reason for that to change with the appointment of Jesse Marsch. Then we have Spurs coming in at number 3.0 against Everton. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Casey. Let's start with those top 3. I think we can skip Liverpool, right? Liverpool is just the obvious in terms of the attack, but
they're just the best attack in the league. I'd fancy them to score against anyone except maybe City, but even then I'd expect them to probably get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about what's going on with Everton. Are they changing? Are they? I feel like there's a little bit of a shift there, and maybe this 3.0 for Spurs might not be as good as, like, it might be worse now than what the data indicates.
Well, the thing we've seen with the short time that we've had Frank Lampard as manager is Everton have been really good at home and diabolical away. So Spurs away, I have not seen Everton put in a good performance away from home in a very long time. I don't know. I think it's going to be really difficult to gauge this match ahead of time, which is unfortunate probably gonna. I'm definitely okay. So first of all, I'm an Evertonian for people that don't know. And have been for well over a decade. I've already adopted the full pessimism. We're gonna lose 5-0. Kane hat trick. It always happens, especially when we play them on the road. But I don't know. So what the big change is that Decore came back last game week. They played 3 in the midfield for the first time, which I think is the best formation to suit our squad. But we have so little depth in the midfield that any of the 3 in the midfield were Decore, Allen, and Donny van de Beek. And if any of those 3 aren't available, I don't know if we have the balance to play 3 in the midfield and play it well. But so I think it's a real question of I guarantee we'll play 3 in the midfield if we can, if those 3 are fit. And I think everyone that watched that City match last week saw how effective that was and how much better Everton were out of possession, how much better they transitioned from defense to attack. So I think but also they've been terrible on the road. So I guess it really is a question of do they have the mental fortitude to go on the road and put in a good performance against a Jekyll and Hyde Spurs team. I think it's probably the hardest game to call of any of the games this week, in my opinion, just because it's a Jekyll and Hyde Everton team versus a Jekyll and Hyde Spurs team. Everton team is both teams are somewhat in transition still, like new players trying to integrate them. I know Conte is integrating new players as well, and I don't know. I think it's a very difficult game to call. I think I don't think I would captain Kane this week as much, even me being as pessimistic as I am and how good of a record he has against Everton and things like that. Everton have just enough chance with 3 in the midfield of really causing Spurs problems, sitting deep, doing what they did against City last week, where City really they had the weird deflected goal that they scored in the 81st minute. And then they had about the 55th minute, they forced Pickford into a really good double save. And then I think their XG for the rest of the game was like 0.2. So they had almost no chances the entire match. Everton completely shut down City. And I think they have the ability to do that versus Spurs. Don't know if they will. But it's just enough of I don't know. This is probably the toughest game to call. I'm going to double or even triple up on Spurs, I think, on my wild card, but it's more so, well, partly because I'm a sucker for punishment, but also partly
you already said you were an Evertonian.
Yeah, exactly. But they just because of the 29 double and the 30 fixture, I think it's probably just logistically the best thing to do.
And 33 double as well, isn't it?
It's going to be very difficult to call.
Yeah, and a likely 33 double as well. It's right, Garth. How much, Garth? How much would you invest? Would you go all in on Spurs? Like, would you go the Kane Son like full investment, or would you maybe go a budget route?
I've got to go budget route because of my budget TV. Everyone else is on a Samsung, and I'm on I don't even know what crap TV is. Maybe
it's a cardboard box with a clothes hanger on top of it.
So I can get to. Obviously, I'm going to say Kane plays furthest forward. He's taking penalties. He's back to what resembles a Kane before. And I was just about to say
8 shots per game, just absolutely terrible shot selection, but that's what he does best. So yeah.
And I was just about to say, what ratio are you playing? Are you playing 2 attackers, 1 defender, or 3 attackers? Because Kulu at 6 is Kulu 6.5, 6?
6, I think.
So like you can get in that way. You could, people with decent TVs can easily go Son, Kulu, Kane, and be quite happy with that. I wouldn't touch the defense because you don't know what the rotation is going to be. If somebody told me Matt Doherty is nailed on, then I would go Matt Doherty, but he's not. So it's just not worth the risk with a wild card. So you just go with what you know. Instead of Son, I'll probably be going Mount.
There's probably about 17 other better defenses than Spurs is as well. So
so no, I'm not loaded. I'll go 2. And maybe even just one, maybe even just Kane because of my crap TV. But that's is what it is.
Mike,
I've
how
got Evaporate.
do you?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Mike Halpin says 1 Spurs is more than enough for his liking, and I'll get to that in just a second. But we'll get to your team later, Garth. You can watch the show back and see what
I'll
we
watch
say.
it back, see what you think.
All right, thanks for joining us, man. That's a
Sorry,
quick shark bite for the day. See
Yeah.
you later, Garth.
See you, Garth. Real good to see you.
Bye. So back to Mike's point, he says 1 Spurs is more than enough for him, and I think I agree with you, Casey, that this is a tricky matchup to call because of the schizophrenic nature of each of these teams, and I don't know if I trust that 3.0. So I may right now I have a couple Spurs in my team, and I may cut that back, or I may just cut back on the investment, maybe go Son to Kulu, just to spread that investment out. Another one
you
I
can
wanted
very
to
easily get Kulu, bench him this week, just play Kane, and then next week obviously play both of them because they double, and then play both in 30 because they play. And I think just having playing players is enough for 30. There's no point in being picky.
Yeah, I agree. One team I wanted to bring up here, and apologies. So this was obviously created before. This was created yesterday, so we didn't have all of the doubles in here. We don't have Chelsea's double in here, for example. But I did want to get to Chelsea because they're a surprise. They're at -0.5 in the attack FDR away to Burnley, and this is a function of this is a home away function. Burnley are a different team at home. And they've shown that recently as well.
This is a Chelsea problem too.
Do you think there's a so talk to us about that, how you see? I mean, people are getting fired up about Chelsea because of this, understandably.
I would. It's a good, yeah, absolutely. But I don't hear anyone saying we should get Lukaku. I mean, I don't hear no one seriously is considering Mount unless not Mount, but Havertz, unless they're like free hitting, maybe then. I don't think anyone seriously considering taking a hit for Christian Pulisic. Callum Hudson-Odoi. I mean, it really is let's get the defenders. I don't know if anyone's really going like very strong in on like, okay, let's triple or double on the attack. I'm going to get Mount. I'm going to get Havertz. I'm going to get, Lukaku. That just it's a defensive thing, and their attack is not great. I don't know
what is their attack. Like, what the hell's going? What is it? I don't
know. Their attack is spending a lot of time in the opposition's final third and hoping that there's like a weird deflection so they can score a goal, I guess.
Fair enough. So with Reece James coming back, some people are thinking that he will be rotated. He'll be, so he's not like pushed too hard initially. I don't know if they're going to start playing more from wide areas, but we have the central midfielders that are also healthy now. So will they start playing through the center mid? They've done both of those things this season. They've done both of those to varying degrees of success. So I just feel like Chelsea, that there's a lot of unknown with Chelsea right now, and I don't know if I entirely trust the Burnley.
They rotate 6 different players every match. It's like they've they put out 2 of the same team back-to-back matches at any point this year.
Not that I've noticed.
There's a real difficulty. First of all, Tuchel, I don't know if he knows the best team. That I don't know if he knows what his best 11 is. I don't know if he knows the best way to get attacking returns out of anybody. I don't know. I don't know if it's just I don't know if the problem. So part of the problem with Chelsea is obviously the managers have very little say in who they buy. The club buys the players. The manager's job is to do the best of making the best out of those players, and then get fired in 2 years. And then that's basically what happens. I don't know. Mount is probably the most nailed, and just by the fact that he's on a lot of set pieces. Oh yeah, good point by Kyle in the chat. I think Ziyech, if he was fit, I think it'd be a whole different story. But he's not
Yeah.
back in training to my knowledge. I think I just saw a tweet earlier that he's not involved in training still.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty much guaranteed he won't play both of the double. Maybe he'll be ready for the second one.
Yeah, so Kyle, he comes in and he says only Chelsea attacker that's worth it is Ziyech, but he's probably only going to play half if fit. And like you're saying there, Casey, I don't think he is fit, which is a shame. It's hard to know. I mean, I think for those that want to double up for a good double game week here in 28, like the only route I can see that has any surety of playing is Rudiger and Mendy, right?
Yeah, Rudiger and Mendy are probably the most nailed. Thiago Silva maybe can play twice in a week, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. I wouldn't touch Alonso because they've been going between 4 at the back and 3 at the back so much, and that.
Bert says that Ziyech is back in training. So
I saw that he took part in partial training today, at least is what I saw. So but he's not involved in full training, which makes it seem like he's probably not ready for their first match of the double, but maybe for the second. He could be a good long-term pick, maybe. I don't know. If they had a game in 30, it'd be different. But they have a good matchup. They're the ones with Watford, I believe, in 29. So they have a good match in 29, but no match in 30, and then a great run after 30. It could be one where you bookmark that for later. But
right.
And I think the real question is Reece James. What do you think about Reece James, Gabe?
Reece James, I think he is as he always was. When we started the season, you could have started with Reece James, right? If you have Reece James, there's always a risk that he comes on. Like if he doesn't start, that he'll come on, right? Because he's so versatile that that could hurt you. The thing is, his upside is so big when it's so high when he does start and that's why you get him. If you want to play that game, that upside game, maybe for someone in Garth's position, that might be interesting. But the lows could be quite low. And I think it depends on your situation and what you're doing and where your rank is and how.
I mean, Wildcard is an interesting one because we're on Wildcard. I think that's a real interesting question. I think the quick and simple of it is if you're using free transfers, you have better free transfers to use than try to get in Reece James. For this 1 week, I think he could be one you want to buy in 31 or something like that. But he's risky enough. I don't know if I would go with him on free transfers this week. I almost guarantee he'll start 1 of 2, which is why I wonder if he's worth it on the wild card. So let's say he's only going to start 1. Both of them are good fixtures this week. They have a good fixture in 29, but then they blank in 30. Is it worth it because they also have a good fixture run after in 31 and beyond? Or do you get someone else and then just say, I'll get Reece James later. I'll get him in 31 or 32. I mean, what are you thinking, Gabe? Is it worth it? Is it worth it to do it this week for maybe just 1 game this week, but then long term being a good pick?
So I'm going to bring up another comment here by Bert. He says, if you still have 2 free transfers, would you use 1 in game week 30 or not worry about planning for that game week? Upside very low. And I bring that up because I kind of agree when we're making these decisions, when we're thinking about, do I bring Reece James in, but he doesn't play in 30? I don't think we should be taking game week 30. We shouldn't be giving it much weight, in my opinion, because there are so few games. I do believe that the upside of that week is quite low. The average will be quite low. If the average is around 30 and you're at 20, you're only that's not a big delta. So I think make your decisions for longer
time. My answer for Mike was it Mike that said that? I don't remember. I didn't see.
Bert.
Oh, my answer for Bert, at least if I were in that situation, do you have the player you want to captain for 30? If so, then don't worry about it. But if not, use that transfer to bring in who you think might be the best captain that week, whether it's Son, whether it's Kane, whether it's Vardy or Madison or whoever you think you need to captain. I would use that transfer. In fact, actually, I would almost use that transfer no matter what to get in a Leicester player. If you don't have Leicester players, buy them in 30. They play in 30, and then they have a great run. They have 3 fixtures to make up, so they're going to have 3 double game weeks. coming up. And so I think absolutely do think that rolling in 30 is probably a bad idea, just because there are so many players that you could get that are good long-term past that if they're lesser players.
Yeah. And I think that also speaks to the advantage of holding the wild card for 31 with the fixture swings. You get past that blind.
I think it depends on your team. If you're set up well for 28 and 29 and or you're set up well for 30, then yeah, I think, or you don't have any free hits. That's another one. I think it's good to hold until 31. But if you don't have free hits or you're not set up for 28, 29, or 30, I think 28 wildcard's a good one. It's very team dependent.
Right.
So
let's moving on here just a little bit. I want to get to the we have the FDR for game weeks 28 to 30. We have let's see, Blue Nix here, Blue Nix 99. He's turning our attention to Arsenal's total FDR 28 to 32 is awesome. Preparing myself for the inevitable pain. So the total FDR, this is attack and defense added together for game weeks 28 to 32 for Arsenal. Well, at the top end, we have obviously Liverpool. They're always there at 16.5, but second, quite close, is Arsenal at 16.3. Then we have Spurs coming in third at 13.7 before it drops to 9.4 for Manchester City. And I do want to talk about Manchester City just a little bit. And while Liverpool is obvious, I think let's start with Arsenal. If you're on a wild card and you're looking for, through these fixtures here, attack 9.6, defense 6.7. What kind of Arsenal assets are you looking at?
Yeah, well, they're well priced too, which is the other thing that's great. Their best assets are like Saka, Martinelli, their defense. None of them are that expensive. Lacazette, I guess. Maybe because there's lack of other options, but at 8.3, 8.4, somewhere in there, it's a lot of money for an assist merchant. I'm not sure. But yeah, they have great assets. They're priced to buy. I think on a wild card, there's no reason for you not to have two, if not three, or two with a plan to buy a third for 29 or something along those lines. One of the biggest issues I've found with tinkering with my wild card is that what do you do with them in 28? Because there's so many other double game week players, and then they play Watford, which is a good single game week fixture. But would you play Saka over Kane? Would you play Saka over Son? Versus their other counterpart single game week players, plus the other cheap players are playing doubles. How do you manage that so you are playing them even in 28? And then you get into 29 where their double is kind of so-so because it includes Liverpool, right? I don't know.
But it also includes Leicester.
But yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't own them for 29, but this fixture difficulty of being the best or second best is a little bit deceptive, just because they for wildcarders, for people who just are using free transfers, just buy them and play them. For wildcarders, it's a little more tricky because one of their best fixtures is also in the one where you're most likely to bench them because of other game week, other options that are equal, if not better, for that one game week. And then obviously 30, they have a great fixture. 31, they have a good fixture as well. And then 32, they have a good fixture. And 29, they have a double with one good and one bad fixture. You definitely want them. It's just really tricky to how do you get that rotation right with the wild card? Currently, I don't think I've had a single draft where I've had a playing Arsenal player for 28, and I've been benching all of them, which is tricky. It's so tough. And maybe that's a blind spot, and I need to rethink that. Is there someone else with a double in 29 or something like that where I could switch out a 28 doubler for a 29 doubler so I at least play one Arsenal player? I don't know. That's it's really a tricky thing to manage.
For those on wildcard, I think one possible way to use the Arsenal picks is if you want an investment pick. For example, if you're looking at Saint-Maximin and you're not sure if he's going to play both games in this double, but he played both games in next double, so he'll play 3 out of the next 4 or something like that, and you throw in a Saka or a Smith Rowe who's flagged, but I think he should be okay for the weekend, or a Martinelli that he had his rest and he's coming back. So but I think, I mean, given the FDR here, I think on a wild card, I don't see how you don't have at least one Arsenal attacker.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Saka's a great option. I think Martinelli's a good option. Not sure about ESR just because why doesn't he start? I don't know. He's been great, but I don't know. He's back from COVID, I think, this week. I haven't seen if he was playing or not, but I think or if he was training or not, but I would imagine he's back from that unless he had some serious COVID symptoms.
Yeah, it is a concern.
He just doesn't play. He just doesn't.
Yeah, it's every other game. It's every other game.
So I would not look at him. I think
the
best Arsenal attackers are Martinelli and Saka. I think that's Odegaard's okay, I guess, but his upside's so low. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would go with Odegaard. I mean, he's cheap. I mean, if you're doing something weird like double Arsenal attack and one defender, then maybe. But
I think that's tough because of the opportunity cost, because there are so many good midfielders.
There's better, exactly. I think the opportunity, and I think that's the big thing we need to talk about in Wildcard is the opportunity costs of a lot of these spots.
Yeah.
There are other good midfielders. There aren't as many other good defenders, and Arsenal's a better defense than they are attack. So, yeah, I think, and they're so cheap in defense. I mean, like having like Ramsdale and White is like, that's really easy to do, and it's not going to cost you much. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on Arsenal. I think everyone should have two, probably. If you want to have three, that's great. But we know about Arsenal; they love to disappoint us when we really need them to perform, and then obviously go and do really well when no one owns their players. So that's pretty classic.
Yep. Moving on to some other numbers here. I want to bring up, a lot of people are looking at Villa attack, Coutinho and Ramsey, and maybe even Watkins now that he's starting again. And the FDR is
negative
-9.7.
Is that the second worst? That's
it's the second worst. They have a lot of games, and so the attack is -5.2 and the defense is -4.5. So I'm a little skeptical of people going hard in or like all in on Villa here. I don't know how you see them, if they're changing or what's going on, but not for me.
No, I mean, Gerrard's not a great manager. I think we've already learned that. And they're a team that spent a lot of money and not spent it maybe in the ways they should have. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's very weird. Their whole like, let's spend a lot of money on Danny Ings, like that's already kind of like very weird.
Yeah. Especially when you already have Watkins there.
Yeah, I thought Dean was obviously a good signing for them. I can't imagine that's a good signing for them. They've obviously recruited well. I mean, like, 2 years ago they bought or Coutinho is also a weird one. It's like on loan, so I understand that's low risk, but he's a lot of wages and he hasn't played well recently for Barca. I don't know. They just seem kind of like we're 13th and that's cool and that's where we're going to finish. Like that's basically who they are. And hey, I'm an Everton fan. I'd bet your head off for 13th. Okay. So I'm not going to dump on them too much, but like that's.
But I think that's an important point. You bring up complacency. And I think
it feels like that. Yeah.
Late Riser mentioned it on the FPL Wire this morning. He was talking about expected beach. And Villa could be one of those teams that just hits the beach.
Yeah, I mean, my wild card drafts, like all of them have had Dean in them, but largely because I don't know how else to manage the 28 double plus 30 double. I guess I could go like triple, double or triple up on like Wolves defender, and what could go wrong with that, right? But I mean, Dean plays as like basically left winger, so even if they don't keep a clean sheet, he could very easily get an assist and bonus points just because of the volume of crosses he puts in, the number of chances he creates. So let's say they give up a goal, but he gets an assist. He often in those games, even without a clean sheet, gets 2 or 3 bonus. So he could very easily end up on a 6 or 7 pointer in a match, even without keeping a clean sheet. So I don't know. It's tough. Ramsey's great. He's really cheap. I haven't put a draft together with him in it, largely because of I think there are just better cheap midfielders. I think Martinelli is a better pick than him. I think that Willock is a better pick than him. I think that Kulusevski is a good good. Obviously, that's starting to get to be like a little over $1 million more than him. But
Yeah,
on a wild card, you got that room to play with.
I think I'm with Robbie here that says in the chat, just go Ramsey if you want. The rest is a trap. I mean, at least it's he's an enabler. So at his
he's
price,
a good enabler. He'll play in 30. They double in 29. He's can be attacking sometimes. It's
So moving down from Villa, we did already talk about Chelsea, but the 28 to 32, they're at a 0.0 for their attack FDR. The defense does look nice, as you mentioned, Casey, at 8.2. I do want to move down to Manchester City with an attack FDR of 8.7. It's good enough for about, what is that, about third, tied for third best for 28 to 32. Obviously, it's very difficult to pick a City attacker because of the way that their production is distributed. You never know who it's going to be. It's like playing whack-a-mole with those guys, with those midfielders. That could be a reason to keep a player like Cancelo until you realize all of the other things you can afford. Like us on Wildcard, all of the things that we can afford by selling Cancelo, we know he's not going to double. And the defensive FDR for City from 28 to 32 isn't great at 0.7. But that could be one way if you're thinking into the attack through that attacking defender. It feels weird to not have any City players in my wildcard though.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two drafts, one that's bench boost and one that's not. And the one that's bench boost has Cancelo bench boosting in a single in 29.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough to justify keeping him if I'm going to probably bench him in 28. And also he doesn't have a fixture in 30.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. And their attack is the nailed ones are KDB, who is way too expensive for his outlay. And then Foden, who is priced right, but he's not that great of an FPL option, to be honest. I mean, or his output is just very. I mean, he's a 7.5 million attacker. He's priced correctly. He's nailed, which is great, but he hasn't double-digit returned very much this year, and he really is like a 1 in 3 returner anyways. So it's not like he's a fantastic option, and he doesn't double. There are just better options out there right now in the mid-priced.
Here's a question from Bert. Who would you rather have, Cancelo or Robbo?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. What do you think?
That's a good one. Ping-ponging it back to me.
If I'm talking game week 28 to game week 38, probably Cancelo.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just thinking like it's the whole block of the season, but there's no reason to say that you can't. I mean, Robertson and Cancelo are the same price. Now, obviously, if you're okay with losing the value, you could buy Robertson and then sell Robertson for Cancelo in 30 whatever, if you want. But short term, I think Robertson's a better pick just because he doubles in 29 and he's been fantastic form lately.
I would say for me, the answer is straightforward. It's Cancelo for me. I'd rather have Cancelo than Robertson, mostly because I think the best third Liverpool asset to have is Matip. Nailed center back. He's been playing well. He's been nailed for a while. Much cheaper, 4.9. I think he could be the best value defender at the minute at 4.9. So I would rather have Matip and Cancelo than Robertson and Ben White.
Yeah, maybe. I guess it depends on
Cody, Robertson and Cody versus
people buying
Cancelo and
Cody.
Matip.
People buying Cody when there's Kilman at cheaper are hilarious.
Yeah.
First of all, Cody doesn't even go up for all the corners. He's like, what? Have you ever seen a center back that's like, okay, center back, you're gonna be on the halfway line in case we need you? That's silly. It's ridiculous. Kilman's cheaper. Yeah. He's just as nailed. He's a better defender than Connor Cody. He's been so good this year. And he's also extremely threatening on corners. He's just as threatening as Sace. I think he's the best Wolves defender. But yeah, as far as I don't know. It just depends on if you're bench boosting. like Robbo and White's not bad than having Cancelo, because then they both have doubles in 29, and if you're bench boosting in 29, I can see how you'd prefer that. If you're not bench boosting, I don't know.
Chris Irvine says that Matip is a rotation risk with Konate doing well recently.
While Liverpool are still in the title, I think they're going to flog Matip as much as they can. I know he's got a bit of an injury history, but yeah, I think while they're still like right in the title race, I think Matip is gonna. I honestly think that they're gonna prioritize the league over Champions League.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong, but I think as long as they think they can win it. Now, what do they play City in 31 or 32, something like that?
Yep, something like that.
So until then, I think 28, 29, 31 in the City match, I think that's probably all going to be my tip.
It's 32. They play City in 32. They're 3 points behind.
Yeah, if they lose to City in 32 and then the title looks kind of out of reach, then maybe you're going to see more rotation. But until then, I don't think you will.
So, where'd it go? Here we go. George Thomas comes in. Apologies if it's been covered, but Willock versus Fraser. So this brings us to the Newcastle conversation, right? Newcastle, they have a attack FDR of negative 7.9 and defensive FDR much better at just -1. So a total of negative 8.9 for these fixtures.
This is the funny thing where you're like, I'm in a wild card and I'm going to triple up on Newcastle.
And
like,
that's what I have right now. And I'm thinking, am I crazy?
Well, they're doubled. They have 4 fixtures in 2 weeks. So if they blank in all 4 and if they return, if you're telling me I'm going to buy a 5.5 midfielder and they're going to score 4 points and then 4 points in the next 2 game weeks, I'd be like, that's not a bad transfer. So anything they return is going to be bonus, I guess.
Yeah. But to answer this question, Willock versus Fraser, I mean, I would say, look, Willock, just like last season, when he caught fire, I mean, forget about the stats. The stats don't have to be there. He's just scoring goals. And Fraser's going to be stuck on the wing. He'll be trying to assist a player like Wood.
His chance creation has been great lately. Obviously, Wood can't finish anything, but
nope.
They've been playing so much. They're unbeaten in 7. That's crazy. Newcastle are unbeaten in 7. That's actually insane. I can't believe they've been playing so well lately.
That is insane.
So
their defense has improved.
Yeah, I know. Like Edward Howe, defensive mastermind. I mean, this is we've obviously are living in a simulation at this point.
That's right.
This is not real life.
And we're all eating humble pie.
Yeah. I don't know. Newcastle, it's kind of one of those, well, they have 4 fixtures in 2 games. Sell them in 30. I don't care. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a couple, 2, 3, and then I'm going to sell them in 30.
Yeah. Amon says,
and I won't have them the rest of the season. I'll sell Willock. I'll try to find money for Willock I don't know, whether it's Madison or a Barnes or, a Leicester midfielder. And then I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Both of us, we're going to get to this later, but both of us have St. Maximum in our wild card draft. So,
and then that's why I bring this comment up from Emin.
I think just get Joelinton.
Exactly. Just get Joelinton for vibes. I say get St. Maximum for vibes. And he's one of those players that, he's flagged right now. We're not sure if he's going to play this weekend, but I can play Saka over him this weekend and still keep my vibes for the rest of the season. So that's an interesting one for me.
I think he plays. He might be off the bench. It's a question of, do you want 1 point or, like 1 appearance point plus another match or Saka? I guess that's an interesting question.
Right. All right, let's move on to the next FDR we have going on here. So the next one is actually FDR to Gameweek 32, but I feel like we've already covered that, Casey, pretty well in the previous slide. So the next one, we're going to move on to the zonal matchups for double GW28 and beyond. All right, here we have the zonal matchups. Again, hasn't been updated. Or this was updated yesterday, so we are missing some matches in here. But I mean, we'll just get used to, Liverpool right side is always going to be the best in the league because that's where Salah is. So I think we can ignore those obvious ones. But what is interesting for me is if we're looking at the combined, because I do want to whip through this so we have time to get to the different wildcard drafts. So I'm going to go straight to the combined. If we're looking at combined left, let's see, what is that? Joint third best, Newcastle at 20. So this is like over. What this means, like what these numbers mean, is this is the expected number of chances created from that side of the field in the given matchup. So in the next 4 or 5 game weeks here, Newcastle is expected to create 20 chances from their left side.
That's Fraser, right? Is Fraser playing down the left? I think he's switching wings a lot. So I guess
he's switching wings. I think lately he's been on the right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I might be mistaken.
Yeah, when they played Everton, he was on the right, but I thought he was playing on the left other games too. So I'm not sure. It's Willock's playing in the mid. So one thing I've heard is, does Bruno take Willock's place if he does ever play? I guess, in his current form, I can't imagine how dropping Willock, but I mean, it doesn't take much, 1 or 2 bad performances and then, what happens in 29. So I do worry about that with Willock a little bit is Bruno going to play his position? Are they going to try, because right now they're just kind of letting Willock play this free role. And I don't know if they're going to try to be more disciplined with it. Maybe a more traditional center midfielder. I don't know. That's a tough one. Fraser is, I guess, nailed for 60 or 70 minutes. I think he'll start all of the matches, but I don't think he'll ever finish 90.
And he's never around the goal, right? Like the chance.
He creates a lot of chances. I wouldn't be surprised if he picked up some assists. They're both cheap. I don't know.
Who does he create chances for?
What? Yeah, would, right. Exactly. Well, and here's my worry is what happens, what do they look like when ASM comes back in? Like if St. Maximum is in there, like what is that going to look like? Is that going to impact? I mean, he's their best player. I don't think there's any absolute. And then you have 2 players playing like this like very weird free role because St. Maximum is kind of like do whatever you feel like, and Willock's also kind of playing that role right now. Does that? I assume that changes. So I don't know. It makes me nervous. Willock makes me nervous. Fraser is meh. That's why I want St. Maximum, and because I think he gets minutes. I don't think he maybe starts, but he gets minutes in this first match, and then he starts maybe the next 3. That sounds great to me. And he's actually been like his output has actually been good. He's not just eye candy at this point. When he's played this year, he's scored points. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, St. Maximin has the most dribbles this season by far. I think he has 177 dribbles, and Rafinha comes in at second with 125. In terms of successful dribbles, so he doesn't have the highest successful percentage, but he has 105 successful dribbles. The next, Traore has the second most, but he's not in the league anymore. So then the third would be McNeil with 66. So almost, St. Maximin creates his own chances. He makes his own stuff, his own magic happen, and that's kind of that. That's why I want him. I don't think I would go for a player that's further back like Fraser. The good thing about Willock for me and Newcastle's FDR here 28 to or a zonal matchup 28 to 32 is at 17, so it's middle of the road, I would say. But what I like about Willock is he gets on the end of some balls somehow, and it doesn't require much. And when he starts scoring, or when he started scoring last season, he really blew up, and it could be a great differential.
Yeah, he's good at making those runs from deep in the late runs as well. He's got good instincts on his positioning.
Yeah,
and when he's feeling it, he's feeling it. I mean, that's
for sure. Another one, I want to bring up a couple more here. Well, Arsenal, again, good across the board. I think Arsenal is just calling us with every FDR, every metric we have. Arsenal's kind of calling us. But Villa's left-hand side at 21.5 is the best in this span for as far as zonal matchups. Now, we always say, like, don't take any of these as a dogma or anything like that. You need context, and just measuring predicting the chances created in each side. It's a very, let's call it soft data, right?
Yeah. This is why I have Dean, right? I mean, he is basically out of position. I don't know. And I love him. I mean, I love Luka Dean, and I think every Evertonian.
That's why you have Dean.
Yeah, but I mean, 5 million. It's not like you're paying Cancelo money for him. I mean, 5 million. I think he is what people thought Tierney would be, and Tierney is not that. So I just think I don't know. It's tough. It could be a terrible buy, but I mean, I'm gonna probably sell him after 30. And at 5 million, there's going to be other options around there, or I can find $1 million and get James or something like that. I don't know. I look at this table and I think, why am I not going double Arsenal attack and not double Arsenal defense? But I also think there are other good 6 million midfielders. Do I need 2 Arsenal ones? I don't know.
Value and opportunity cost, I think. I mean, there's value in Arsenal and midfield as well, but yeah, it's hard to give up a spot to have 2 of them.
Yeah, Cash has been good. FPL Dallas in the chat. Cash has been really good as well. I think they're both good. I just think you look at the positioning, and then Dean's on all of the set pieces. I think he's just a better. I mean, Cash has been getting the points, but I think Dean's metrics are better than Cash's. So for predicting future points, I don't know. But they're both about the same price, right? Cash is cheaper. So if you don't have the cash, I guess, for Dean, then get Cash. Is he what, 4.7, 4.8, something like that now? So so yeah, I mean, if you really don't have the 0.4 or 0.3, you need difference, then yeah, absolutely, that's fine. But I don't know. But you looked at those. Their run is not great. It's not a great. I mean, they play Leeds this week, which is fantastic in this double, but they really don't play. 29 is West Ham, something like that. I think it's not a great fixture in 29, but then they play in 30. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know. I really don't know what to do with Villa. Villa is the toughest, I think, to call.
Yeah. The next one I want to highlight here, and I just want to do it really quickly because we've talked about them at length, is Leeds. They're second best zonal matchups for 28 to 32 on the left at 21.2, and also second best on the right at 21.1. If Rafinha will be moving around, he could be exploiting either one of those flanks. So kind of some more evidence pointing towards Rafinha as well. I think I'm gonna have to get him back in. Anything else stand out for you in the zonals, Casey, before we move on?
Not really. I think okay, yeah, one thing to point out is look at West Ham. I think it's time to sell if you have any of their players. I think it's time to sell them. And I know a lot of people have value tied up. And I think you got to sell them. They just, what is that, third worst in the Premier, third worst on this list. So if you have Bowen, there's other options around that price that I think are going to well outscore them. They do have a 30 fixture, which is interesting, but they don't double in 28 or 29. I don't know. At least that's my personal opinion. They just their fixture run is terrible. Obviously they play Liverpool this week. If there's any time to sell Bowen, it's this week.
Yeah, I mean they have Liverpool away this week, then Villa home, Spurs away, then they have Everton home, Brentford away, and Burnley home, which is nice before Chelsea, Arsenal. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but even towards the end of the season, it gets even worse. So I do agree with you. I think there's more upside elsewhere.
I think you can talk yourself into keeping them. I don't know. I first of all, that's my play style. I'm plenty happy to sell players I have. I think of it more as banking value, banking selling value than losing team value. Because guess what? Your team value doesn't matter. The selling value does matter. And once you sell them at a profit, you've banked that selling value. And by the time you're on a wild card like right now, my team value is not great, but my selling value is almost equal to my team value. So I can still get all the other players. It doesn't matter if my team value is as high. So I don't know. I think it's plenty easy to, you can buy him now. And then if you want to buy him back in 31, that's fine. Or sell him now and buy him back in 31. I guess that's fine. Especially if you're on Wildcard. I just don't see any reason to have him in your team right now. It's just, And once they're tired, they're going to have to go back and start playing Europa League again. And that's not going to go well because they have Antonio's going to be up there like on crutches by the end of the season. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that is a general consensus that it's time to let go of those West Ham assets. We're going to move on to some wild card drafts now, and I think we have about 5 of them to review now. When, obviously there are specific player picks up there, but we'll be talking more about the concepts, and we're going to start with the with our very own FPL Mariner, who's ranked 58 in the world, as we said. So of course he has to start this. I know everyone's waiting for his wild card draft, and I think we're gonna have a few laughs based on what we said on the show. Here we go. I think the first thing that stands out is Mariner has triple Newcastle, and he has and he has. So here's for the podcast listeners. I'll just read out the team. In goal, he has Za and Dubravka on the bench. He has his defenders are Trent, Rudiger, James, Ben White, and Davies. Midfield of Saka, Salah, Rafinha, Willock, and Ramsey, and a front 3 of Kane, Broya, and Wood.
Ugh, Wood. That's the only. When I saw this earlier, it was the only thing I looked at and was like, Wood, really? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw this and it seems risky. It seems. Yeah.
And he's played every match. 3 goals in 27 matches. 1 in 9 is he's got 4. I guess if you think of it, he's got 4 matches over here. So 1 in 9, he's got almost a 50% chance of getting a goal in the next 2 game weeks. So maybe you look at it that way. You're like, okay, 1 goal in 4 over the next 2. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. He's nailed. He's got the minutes.
Emlyn says that Mariner has seen the light. I think he's seen the light shine so brightly that it blinded him in this case.
Well, I mean, I just wonder if like sometimes it's not good to walk to the light.
Sometimes turn around and go back. But I mean, who are we to criticize a rank of 58? I mean, the guy's obviously tapped into something this season.
The absolute only criticism in all 15 places. Like it's the only place I looked at and I was like 14 out of 15 here. Great. Like that's the spot where I'm like, oh, can you? And maybe he can't afford the extra 0.2 or 0.3 for ASM or something like that. Or
he has money in the bank.
Interesting. I wonder if he would. I mean, has he considered Che Adams or something like that? I mean, I guess it's just a weird pick. I mean, I guess it's just for appearance.
I don't think he wants to double up. I mean, I think one thing Mariner can do with this is get rid of Wood and bring in Saint-Maximin, right? And you can play Ramsey or White over him this week.
Yeah, this definitely looks like a. I'm wondering what his chip strategy is, but this definitely looks like a team that you'd want to bench boost in 29.
He is planning on bench boosting in 29.
Yeah, that's the first thing I looked at and said, this definitely looks like a bench boost team where you have Villa's gonna that one's gonna stink. The Ramsey pick's gonna be like, okay, well, he's got a single game week and it's against I think it's against West Ham. So that's not great, and it's not someone you'd want to really bench boost. But the rest of the team is set up perfectly. And so maybe he's got a plan with that money in the bank to go Ramsey to someone else in 29 to help that bench boost. Because But yeah, Rafinha's got a good. I mean, he's a single game weeker in 29, but Broha and Rafinha both have really good fixtures in 29.
Yeah.
So I think, and obviously, and Chelsea also have a really good fixture in 29. So I think it definitely looks like a really strong bench boost team. Plus, he's got a doubling keeper in Dubravka for 29, and Salah won't double, but he could also take a -4 to go to like Ramsdale or something like that as well. So,
I mean, in that case, you might as well just bring Ramsdale in this week and on his wild card.
Because you play Salah. Salah has a great double this week, right? And then you go Salah to Ramsdale in 29, who has a double in 29, and then Ramsdale plays 30.
Yeah, I mean, I say he's not going to make a goalkeeper transfer again this season.
Yeah, I guess. Well, so I mean, it's what do they have, away Everton? I think in 29. So I guess maybe he hopes they keep a clean sheet against Everton. Everton again, better at home than away. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's a great clean sheet fixture. Now, if it was home Everton, maybe it is home Everton. I don't remember. Have we gone? I don't remember. So he has Everton in 30. So that's tough. I don't know.
So and again, he is still all of these are just drafts. He's still tinkering. So
yeah, but I think it's a really good draft, and it definitely looks like it's well set up for bench boost. He's gone without Son to fund the bench boost, which I think is I've looked at this. It's the only way I think that makes sense because and we haven't talked about this, but he's gone Kane over Son, and I think this is the opportunity cost thing. Like there aren't alternatives as forwards, but there are plenty of alternatives in midfield.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
yeah, there's the rank 58 wildcard draft from FPL Mariner.
I don't know how he's sleeping. Like if you're on wildcard and you're top 100 in the world, I just can't even imagine how that feels.
So stressful. Next up, we have our very own Rehan. Here's it's at Ray_QUR on Twitter. Now, he's ranked 62K, so very decent rank. And his team is as follows. He has Dubravka in goal with Ramsdale on the bench. Back three, Rudiger, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kilman. And he pairs them with Cancelo and White, who are on the bench. His midfield is Salah, Rafinha, Willock, and Ramsey. And he has Saka on the bench. And a front three of Jimenez, Broya, and Kane. Initial reactions here.
I mean, he's doing exactly what I said. It's so hard to wildcard this week and then also play your Arsenal players. He's got all three on the bench, which it may be a good thing. It may not be a good thing. It's hard to say. God, that's so tough. Yeah, it's a really good, well-balanced team. It's set up really good for a 28 and 29 rotation. Also looks like it might be a bench boost team for 29 just because he's got Dubravka and Ramsdale. I like that he's held Cancelo. I think that's a good move. Although, again, if he's benching him this week, he'll play, obviously, probably either bench boost him or play him in 29 because they have Palace. But then he blanks in 30. And so you got 7+ million defender that you're going to play once in 3 weeks. I don't know. It's so tough. And it's the thing that everyone on Wildcard has to kind of confront right now. And I know this because I've thought about it as well. Is it, and then what else do you do? So do you go Cancelo to like Reece James but then what do? You start Reece James and then you bench Trent. I mean, it's just a nightmare. It's a real nightmare.
Everybody on Wildcard has a benching headache this week.
Certainly with the Arsenal players, I think.
Yeah, I think for me, what stands out to this team, and this is I'm vehemently against the Jimenez pick.
Yeah, I was originally, and then I was like, Wolves 7.5 million forward. They play with like 2 attackers. Jimenez has looked off it, although he just got a rest, so that might actually be good for him. Maybe he needed that, and he got that rest last week, played 3 minutes or whatever. So maybe he's well rested for these games. It is 2 home fixtures Palace, Watford. I don't know. I still think I'd rather double on the defense than get Jimenez.
Jimenez has 5 goals this season. And how
Actually more than I thought he had.
He's
more than
7.5
Wood.
million. Yeah, that's not hard. He's 7.5 million. He plays on the worst attacking team in the division. At 7.5 million. This isn't all like fixtures and kind of selection. And when I don't know, I can't get behind selecting a player just having one reason to select him, just because he has games or whatever. So I think that money could be better invested elsewhere.
Amund in the chat says his bench this week is Trent, Son, and White. Oh my god.
what headache.
That is the absolute nightmare of managers. Like I would change that team just so I didn't have to bench those players. That is so crazy. Oh
yeah, that's the kind of week it is though. But I agree with you. Ray's team here very balanced. Look at he's planned well. He's got his template picks in there, which I know
who would you go Jimenez to? That's the problem. Like ASM, okay, that's where we've landed, but he is he's semi fit right now. So I understand the hesitancy there. You could double up with Southampton, and go with like Che Adams, I guess. But then who else would you go? Pookie, of course, Pookie. We haven't even mentioned Pookie. But like, seriously though, who is he going to go for? So what is your thoughts on Hwang though? He's 5.4. He probably starts. I mean, he might be the 4-point Chris Wood merchant, I guess. Like that's, maybe he gets 2 and 2 and then send him off into the sunset with after 4 points. I mean, what do you do as an alternative? Or do you go, unless he's bench boosting? This is what I've come to the conclusion of is go to a dead forward, go to 4.5. bench that player, unless you're going to bench boost. This is the question, and this is why I've had this issue. But I would rather go completely dead there, take $3 million and put it into, upgrading Ramsey or, going like Saka to Son or something like that. I think that's better, or having money to double up on the, or getting like Robbo or something like that. It's just, that's the conclusion I came to, is that Jimenez is not worth it because he's so much money and his ceiling is what, 10 points for the double, like 5 and 5. That's really what his ceiling is.
That's best case.
I guess if he scores a goal, he's a bone merchant, but like, do you really think he's going to score 8 and then turn around and score 8 again? That just seems like, I don't know, wishful thinking. Watkins, that's an interesting one. Yeah, you could go Watkins and then sell. That's an interesting point. Like you get Watkins, have him this week for a great double, and then you say, "See you later. I'm going to go to St. Max in 29," or Richarlison. Richarlison is 7.4. No one's talked about.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. there.
No, Rich has been great.
You're off the rails, Casey.
No, Richarlison's been so good. And what is it? Home Everton have home Wolves and home Newcastle in the double. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's not a great attacking fixture against Wolves, but it's home, and so 2 home matches. I don't know. That's tough. It's a really tough one. But Watkins is a good shout, especially if you're planning on ditching right away in 29 and going to whatever else that you want to go for, like ASM. I think.
All right. Moving on to the next. There we go. The next one it's yours, Casey.
No. Yeah. I mean, so I have 2 drafts here. One is a bench boost. 29 option, and one is a non-bench.
The one on the right is the bench boost, and the one on the left is the non-bench boost. Is that right?
Yes. So on the one on the left, I basically decided, this is what I was talking about. I basically decided that Jimenez is dead to me. Not worth it. It's not worth it. No forward is worth the money. This team would be probably a 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. in 2028, where I'd bench Martinelli and White.
Let's can we? So this is the non-bench boost team, right?
Yeah, on the left.
On the left. So I'm going to read through the team really quickly for the podcast listeners. He has Za and Foster in goal, Trent, White, Dean, Saiss, and Rudiger is the back line. The midfield is Salah, Martinelli, Rafinha, Kulusevski, and Son, and a front three of Saint-Maximin, Kane, and the dumpster fire, the trash pick, Richardson.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. So the team would be a 4-4-2 in 28, where I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doublers, and then I'd have like 9 or 10 doublers in 29. It'd be a 3-5-2 in 29, where I'd bench Dean and I'd bench Saiss. And I'd probably make a goal to keep a transfer. I'd go Sa to Ramsdale. And so that would be like a pretty heavy, almost, it would be like, it'd be what everyone, but so Rudiger would be a single game week player and Rafinha would play a single game week player for 29. So it'd be nine doublers in 29. And then in 30, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'd have 9 players for 30 in the blank. So this is why I like this team, is that it goes heavy on doublers both these weeks, kind of less this week but more in 29. And then in 30, I have 9 players and I could make a transfer for 10. Which I think is way more than enough.
Yeah, you'll be way ahead of the curve.
I could do 11 too. I might even try to do a double move if it means like getting in a lesser player or something like that. So that's why I like this, but it would be punting on bench boost until 36. The thought there being that almost every team will probably double on 36. So it should be really easy to get a bench boost out into 36 with just free transfers. You don't need a wild card. You just be like, oh, I can afford this player. I'll just, get rid of Richardson and get in, find money to get in the cheapest, playing, double game week. Yeah, Huang, maybe Huang or something like that.
And we'll get to we'll get to Huang, and I think he's in the next draft. I think that we're gonna, or not the next, the next one we're gonna look at. So looking here at your team on the left, Casey.
Triple Spurs. I'm waiting to die. Triple Spurs is that's staring into the void at 0-0, 89th minute. Just like, okay, this is why I finish at 10K and not at 100. Like, those are the differences. So.
Yeah. I mean, it is a lot in Spurs. That's one thing, and I know you like Dean. That pick, there's something that doesn't sit right with me with that pick. I think it's the value. I think there's better value elsewhere. Saiss, I think you might as well go Kilman, as you were saying earlier, and save the 0.6.
I could do Kilman over Dean.
Kilman over Dean, and then do just get Ramsdale instead of Sa.
Get Ramsdale. I thought about that, but then it's a question of, do I play Foster with a double, or do I play Ramsdale versus Watford?
That's a dilemma I think a lot of people are facing. We had Ray's version earlier. He's playing not Foster. He has Dubravka, I think, with the double. But who would you play?
Probably would play Foster, just because I think Watford are improved defensively, and while I don't think they'll keep any clean sheets, he'll keep enough saves, and maybe they only concede 1, and I think he'd very easily get like a 4-pointer and then a 3-pointer and get 7, and you're like, okay, that's great. So probably Foster. If I did that. So yeah, that's something I've actually tinkered with, that exact thing. This is a basic structure. Those are the two things I'm playing with, is like, hey, do I just go Ramsdale and bench him, and then get like double Wolves? The big thing is I need a 30 player. I really want to have 8 or 9, at least in 30, because I don't want to. I have one more free hit, but I don't want to use it in 30, because that feels kind of a waste. It's a terrible game week.
So I guess one question I'd have for you is, in your thinking, we talked about the upside in 30 is quite low. So to focus on having that many players for potentially a limited upside compared to the rest, what's your thinking there? Do you think you can make up significant ground there just by having those extra players?
Just by having 8 or 9 without having hits or using a chip, and also Kane and Son are 2 of them. It's not like it's garbage players entirely.
That's a good
and then
point.
I'd also have Arsenal players who are fine. I think it's just a numbers. I feel like 30 is not really like a major game thing, but it is very much just like, hey, can I coast through on either a small red or a small green and not use a chip? And I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm leaning towards no bench boost just because. Oh, I don't know. It's tough. Son is, and what I could do is I could go Broha, and I might actually do this, and then transfer Broha to St. Max in 29.
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's some good thinking. I like that.
So those are the kind of things that I'm thinking of. Or if I don't want St. Max in 29, I could use that 1 point something to go and get a defender transfer or something like that. So
right.
And then the one on the right, it basically sacrifices Son so I can have more money in defense.
Mm-hmm.
And really, Cancelo could be James. It really is just whether I want to go all in on that. So it just allows me to not have that dead player and have 3 forwards, and more or less it's about the same. It just has Willock instead of Son. It's fine.
It's less like the team on the left is more stressed in terms of budget and in terms of formation and stuff. Like, budget, and then you have that dead player. Whereas the one on the right, you have money in the bank. You have you're a good balance across the team, and it'll be easy to pivot one way or another. I think with that one on the right, I think that's the main advantage I see from it.
Yeah, but the biggest thing is that it's like 5 players or 6 players in 30 instead of 9. And so that's the biggest difference. So it would be set up well for bench boost in 29, but it would be pretty garbage in 30. And I guess the question I have is the 29 bench boost worth it, or is 36 going to be just as okay? And then also I'm set up for 30. So these are really the two. That's really the thing I have to decide.
Yeah. Yeah. So like weighing the 3 extra players in 30 versus the bench boost and the potential bench boost in 29.
And I think the starting 11 is going to be obviously pretty similar as far as for the left versus the right for 29. It's really just like, do I want Rudiger in a single game week, a good single game week, and Rafinha in a good single game week, and Broha in a good single game week on a bench boost? I think that's really going to be the question. So.
Okay.
But then 36 could be a full it could be almost 14 or 15 doublers just by sheer luck. So that's the thing, is like, I don't know if 29 is the best time to bench boost, but obviously bench boosting close to your wild card assures that you don't have all these dead players. So
yeah, I mean, I that's how I see it anyway. I think 36 is going to be so massive that we don't even have to worry about it. It's the obvious bench boost, and we don't have to worry even about planning for it. As long as you have playing players, you're good.
Even though the team on the left is somewhat stressed, and I might actually tinker with that Ramsdale versus thing, and that actually would give me like 0.5-ish in the bank to do those 2 moves. So I could definitely do that.
Okay. So let's move on to the next one here. We're gonna fly through it. Time is
what's yours look like?
All right,
this is Garth. Yeah, Garth.
So this is Garth. I'm gonna fly through Garth's really quickly. So Garth is on a budget. His team value, I think he said it's like 101.9. It's quite low. So he's working on a major budget, and he has Forster and Ramsdale in goal, Trent, Rudiger, Livramento, Cancelo, and White, Mount, Rafinha, Salah, Ramsey, and Gordon. Anthony Gordon. I do like that shout.
I love Anthony Gordon. I just worry he's going to be under threat now that Gray's hit. So
yeah, he could be. So, and then up front he has Kane, Adams, and Huang. Now Huang is obviously, I don't know. I think he's still a rotation risk. I don't think he's worth the pick, and I don't think he's a very good player, to be perfectly honest. So I think he's going to have trouble with that one. He should rethink that.
Jesse Marsch should know all about him, right?
Yeah. He was so bad last year. I think Mount might be. I don't know. I can see the pull for Mount. he's almost like too expensive for the uncertainty, and I don't know if he's going to be, advanced, or if he's going to be further back, or what his role is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the question is, I'm just purely punting on Mount in 28, and then I'm going to sell him for Saka in 29. That's fine.
Yeah,
like I think
yep.
if that's the plan,
for
I
that
think
nice
it's fine.
double.
But if he's like, I'm going to have Mount and I'm going to hold them, I don't like that.
Yeah, Mount to Saka on 29. Yeah. So if you're looking for, I guess budget, he could go Kulusevski. Like Kulusevski's a good budget way into Spurs attack, for example.
Yeah, and you said that they have the third best attacking 28 to 32 or something like that.
Yep.
So
yeah, so that could be a good investment. I mean, yeah, look for when your team value is so low, you're really just looking for value, and I think for a team value like this, I think Matip, I mentioned it earlier, but
the other thing
Matip is obvious.
I mean, look at Cancelo. He obviously hopped on Cancelo so late. So at 7 million, he has no value tied up in him. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't sell that player and use that money.
Yeah, I agree.
If he had bought him at 6 and you're losing 0.5, 0.6 on him, because he's a really good pick, especially 31 and on. But with no money, with no money tied up in him, use that money now and then find a way to go Rudiger to Cancelo if you want, or something else later on the line. But he has no value tied up, like 0.1 maybe value tied up. I would sell Cancelo and use that money, especially with how stretched he is.
I agree.
So I don't know if he's planning to bench boost. I think he is. So he has all the playing players, so that's good.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the last one. I'll do mine. I'll just fly through mine really quickly here, just in the interest of time. We do want to get to the captaincy metric and questions for people in the chat, and finish hopefully in 15 minutes here. We'll finish. So my current draft is as follows. I have Dubravka in goal, Trent, Rudiger, and Kilman is my back three. Willock, Salah, Son, and Ramsey, and then I have Saint-Maximin, Broya, and Kane up front. My bench is Ramsdale, Saka, White, and Matip. Now my thinking here is St. Max. I just think if he's not going to play, if he's not ready, I think he's fine to bench. I don't want to plan transfers for myself, because I think we're going to learn a lot in the next few game weeks. And I know I'll have to pivot from this draft. So if I have to bench St. Max, I have really nice options on the bench that could come in. And a lot of it is safety. I'm not going for James because I don't want the lows from James. I think I can make up James's points by playing maybe some matchups.
Yeah.
But I'll let you have at it. Carve it up.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, I think your biggest kind of key point here is you've just planned on having Matip. Which is great. He's easy to bench this week because West Ham's not like a great fixture. There's no, I mean, you could very easily see West Ham scoring a goal, even though it's at Anfield. So they're easy to bench, but a great player for 29. Ramsey's easy to bench in 29. So you just be like, okay, Saka on for Ramsey, White in for Kilman. You're going to have a headache of Dubravka and Ramsdale, I guess, in 29, but Dubravka is not a great 29 double because it includes who is their 29? It's is it Arsenal and I don't remember.
Everton.
Arsenal,
Chelsea and Everton.
Oh, sorry,
Chelsea and Everton. In
Which
29.
is not a great. I mean, so yeah, you probably start Ramsdale over Dubravka, obviously, in 29. Yeah, I mean, I think you've really planned out like who you want to start in each game week, and you've maximized. You're getting like, you're getting like 7 doublers, and then you're following that up with another 6 or few doublers. Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I don't have any problems with any of these places, and I also might consider. Yeah, I don't know. I would definitely consider a matchup as well, and I've played around with it a little bit, but maybe I should give it more thought just so I can get Maybe a Ford Saka over Martinelli or something like that.
And the other thing that this gives me, without any transfers, I have 7 players for game week 30. So I feel like I have a good amount of doublers in 28 and 29, and I have a decent amount of players. I'll be kind of like middle of the road. I could have maybe 8. I wouldn't bring too many game week 30 players in. Maybe have 8 for game week 30, and then set up for the fixture swing 31 with 2 free transfers after game week 30 in game week 31. So that's kind of the plan. And there's still some
There's a
tinkering
question
here.
in the chat that's actually right on top of that. So Jones Bloke said, "What's the minimum amount of players you need for game week 30 with no free hit?" It's a really good question. So what do you think? How many do you think you'd be comfortable fielding?
I'd be comfortable with 6.
6. Wow.
7. I think I'd be like 6 is bare minimum for me, because I really think that the average is going to be so low, and then the players you don't have, the players you want to bring in that are playing in game week 30, they're not great players and they're not on great teams. So I think their upside is limited. Whatever you miss out on in 30 can be easily be made back with planning and with chip strategy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd go. I think before the FA Cup matches this week, I would have agreed with the 6. I think I'm going to go with 8, largely because they're actually really good. There are actually some really good players that you'll want that are actually kind of a mixture of long-term and game week 30 players, mainly Spurs assets and Leicester assets. And Arsenal assets. I think everyone will automatically have Arsenal assets, though. But just because you have those 3 teams, I think at minimum you should be doubled up on almost all 3 of them. You probably should have 6 or 7 just from those 3 teams.
Nahal in the chat says 6 quality over 10 quantity, and I think
absolutely.
And I think this will be a differentiation kind of in the FPL community where some people will go for quantity. And other people will just consolidate. Like you said in your previous draft, you had a bunch. I think you had 9, right, in your bench boost draft, but or in the other one, sorry. But like you said, you had Son and Kane, so you have some heavy hitters in there.
It was triple Spurs, triple Arsenal. So 6 of those 9 were from good teams.
From good teams, yep.
So I mean, maybe not, so. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be like, oh, I want to have triple Wolves and triple Villa. Like those are fine if you want to just fill some spots. But yeah, I think you should have 6 quality. But then I think it'd be very easy to have 8 or 9 just total players from those. Certainly with Wildcard, I think I would be upset if I didn't fill at least 8 players. Now that might be 7 with 1 transfer in 30 to get to 8 or something like that. But I definitely. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about? So your 3 Arsenal are White, Saka, and Ramsdale. Do you think that's the ideal 3? I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't know what the ideal 3 is.
I mean, I prefer Gabriel to White. He's a threat on set pieces.
You think double defense and 1 attack is probably the way to go?
I think so. Because the midfield is so, if Martinelli gets benched, I wouldn't be surprised. If ESR gets benched, I wouldn't be surprised. Odegaard has a low ceiling, so Saka's kind of the only one. Lacazette is Lacazette.
Richarlison just scored in the FA Cup, just so you know.
Okay, we're moving on. I'm gonna have to.
I'm just kidding.
That's enough of that.
Go for it. No, I'm just.
But
these South Americans, man, they do not like each other, and Gabe by association is not a fan of Brazil. So
actually, I grew up a fan of Brazil, so because Venezuela will never make it to the World Cup.
Oh, yeah, you have your second team that's like, oh yeah, I'm a League 2 fan of such and such team, but my Premier League team is whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So Venezuela would be like in the League 7 of internationals.
League 7. Yeah,
there was one.
The Americans are like League 5, right? America, it's like League 5.
Exactly, League 5 at this point. Hopefully, they're on the up and up.
That's why that's why you can be a Brazil fan and a US fan, because it's like, come on, are they really? I mean, if they ever play each other, it's a friendly, and like, who cares at that point?
Yeah, they play in different leagues. You can be fans of both.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to the Rumi Pick now. Those were some nice wildcard drafts. Thanks to everyone for submitting them. Here's a Rumi Pick of the week, and let's see. Well, I don't see Marsch solving the problems that left by Bielsa. I do see his style benefiting Rafinha. And I think he'll move around the formation. I think he'll, like when Marsch likes to drive everybody close to the ball. And I think that will create space on the outside for Rafinha. But also when he's in the middle there, I think he can maneuver through there when he has a lot of players around him. So Marsch is like training techniques. He does rondos kind of everywhere. He plays multi-goal, small-sided games, and really works on that. So I think Rafinha can benefit from that type of managing. Now the quote is respond to every call that excites your spirit. And Rafinha has been one of the most exciting players, in my opinion, since he came into the league. I'm not willing to give up on him. I think he could explode, especially this game week in a matchup against Leicester, which is really nice. They have the third highest non-penalty expected goals conceded in the last 6 of 10.82. So that's a really nice matchup. And Villa have conceded the 5th most chances from the left side in the last 6. So that's Rafinha playing on that right-hand side, and I think he could exploit both those things. So he's going to be my
I think he's a great pick this week. I wouldn't consider not having him unless I heard he was sick or hurt.
What about this from Nehal? He says Rafinha captain shout.
Yeah, who is the best captain shout this week? That's probably our good transition, right?
Exactly. Well, that's where we're going to go next.
I'm new to this, but I think I'm pretty sure that might be where we're going.
Well, this is where like I have to like press buttons and stuff. So
yeah,
so here we go.
Press all of them.
I'm going to press all the buttons.
Style. Just press them all. Actually, what I assume that's one of those weird terms that's probably different in England. Did they call it something different other than an elevator? They call it like a lift or something weird.
Oh, right.
Is there anyone in England in the chat that can let us know what
probably
weird
all
term
of them
we have for that? A weird term we have for that?
Yeah. So here we go. Let's hope that I don't break the ship by pressing this button.
There you go.
Well, that's I kind of broke the ship because that's not what.
Oh no, it didn't. It didn't work.
Here's the captain. We'll come back to that one. Here's the captaincy metric. So it was right last week again. It's now 82% success rate. It called Kane. I thankfully captained Kane. Who did you captain, Casey, last week?
I captained Veghorst. Although I was going to captain Kane and then I bottled it, I guess that's the term. So bottled it at the last minute. I was like, it's free hit. I'm never going to captain a Burnley player again. So,
the creator of the metric made the same mistake, if that makes you feel any better.
Oh, fair enough. Kane was my vice captain. I actually didn't pull the free hit button until like 10 minutes before the deadline. I was actually planning on wildcarding last week, but I was just a little bit. So anyways, it was a great captaincy shout. It probably should have done it, but yeah. Great.
So here we go for this week. Drum roll, and there it is. Shocker. Salah tops the metric. He's at 111. Robertson comes in a second, interestingly, at 106. Then Trent at 105. Mane is at 102. Jota, and then the first non-Liverpool player is Son at 96, with Kane coming in just behind at 95. Thoughts?
So single game weeker is the best again, is what you're saying.
I think the metric is trying to teach us something. For those that didn't learn last week, you get a second shot, a second bite at the apple here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, this is the classic. Like, hey, I'm sure that Brighton will keep one clean sheet. We should all captain Duffy, or like that was fun. Remember when we did that?
I was saved from that one as well. Looks like Nehal did the same thing. Hit a last minute free hit. Bottled the Sun captain.
Yep. That's
Robbie's saying you got to trust the metric.
Yeah, you look at this and you think, I guess, what would you feel worse about? I mean, because first, okay, so Salah's ownership is going to be more or less like 120% EO or something like that. It won't be super high. Would you feel worse if you captained a single game weeker? and like a double game, several of the double game weekers just completely blew him out of the water? Or would you feel worse if you captained that double game week player and got outscored by Salah? Like which could you live with yourself more? Because I think that the mental aspect of a lot of this is really important, as I've learned, over the last couple of years. It's just like managing yourself. How do you manage yourself? Because if you're just going to completely, if you get so mad about getting the captaincy wrong this week that you like do a -16 and then next week captain, knee-jerk captain someone because of that might not be the best option. Then just do whatever you're most comfortable living with yourself with. Because so if you look at it and you think, I really am feeling like Rudiger captain this week because they have 2 clean sheetable fixtures and can very easily score a goal. He loves shooting. He loves getting into the box, not on corners. He's just a wild guy. So if you feel that and it doesn't come off, but Salah outscores him, are you going to be super upset with that? Or are you going to be like, well, at least I captained my gut. This was the double game week fixture. 2 is better than 1. Then go with that. But if you really think, I'm going to be really mad if I don't captain Salah this week, or if I captain someone that's not Salah and Salah scores because EO is over 100% and you get a red arrow as a result of that, then you got to captain Salah. I mean, I think you just got to go with what you feel strongly about.
It's an interesting point.
There's so many good captaincy options, or there's so many mediocre captaincy options.
Yes,
this week. I don't think there are any great ones. I think Salah's fine, but West Ham, I mean, come on, it's David Moyes. David Moyes is going to turtle that West Ham team so much. And you think Salah has trouble scoring against Burnley? He could just as easily struggle against West Ham, turtle.
Maybe. I mean, the stats, the data doesn't really bear that out. But Solomon T brings up a good point. He asked, was the Captaincy Metrics data run after the double Chelsea was announced? And that's a good point. It was run before. So I don't see, we're looking for Chelsea assets here. None are on this board, right? And the lowest one is Jimenez at 80. So even with the double, I don't see it going past Salah at 111.
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rudiger found his way into the top 5 or something like that.
And this goes to like the point that you were bringing up. For me, if I told myself that I was going to follow the metric this season, and the few times I haven't, I've paid dearly for it. And one of those times, I believe, was Antonio early on in the season when he got the red card. So I would feel worse if I did not captain the best player in the world, and obviously the best player in FPL all season, and the player that tops the metric. That's me. I have to captain the best player. But I understand, some people might, 2 is better than 1, but 2 mediocre is better than 1 best in the world. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's fair. I really haven't given any thought to captaincy. I think it'll probably be between those 2, Rudiger and Salah. I just don't feel strongly about any of the others. Maybe Sa, I think there's a really good chance that Wolves also keep 2 clean sheets. He also gets bonus and saves. His floor is a little bit lower just because of the save. So even if they don't keep a clean sheet, he could easily get 3 or 4 in a single match and then follow it up with a clean sheet and get 10 or 11. So I don't know. It's real tricky.
I'll be going Salah. It's for me.
I think that's it. I don't think I think if you're okay with Salah, a double, because I think it's pretty likely that there will be some double game weekers that outscore Salah, but like, you're going to come back and be like, oh yeah, I totally was going to captain like Matt Target from Newcastle, who, like you're not, it's not going to, that's not, you can't hindsight it like that. So I think that's completely fine. I think it's a good captaincy this week. And it's home. Like if it was away, it'd be a little bit different, but.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So that does it. I think, if there are any final questions, please, throw them in the chat. I think we've been answering most of the questions as we went along. I prefer that because otherwise I lose them and then I have to scroll back and they don't often come up. So I do like to do the questions as we go. We'll wait a couple seconds here to see if any final ones come in. But any final thoughts from you, Casey?
I'm just happy to see you. To be completely
This is
honest.
awesome, man. This
Yeah,
is
I
me
absolutely
too.
love you so much. Like you're my brother from another mother. I love it. I just
Totally.
so happy to see you. So I'm glad that we're 2 points apart. I don't think we've mentioned that, but like this is like really we're setting up for quite the duel here over the last 10 game weeks. So
That's right. We're yeah, it's going to be a rivalry that's going to fuel us
there you
to
go.
the top of some list. I don't know what list, but we do have some questions coming in. I'm going to throw them on here. And for those that came in late, Casey and I know each other from the FPL Roundtable, a once fun and vibrant pod, but it's now defunct. And then it's just memories now. But you guys got me into content creation, so I'm deeply appreciative for that. And we're all good friends. We've been chatting for years, so it's been really nice. I'm going to throw a question here from Blue Nix. With Gameweek28 bench boost in mind, would you sell an Arsenal player, or is saving a free transfer more valuable to bring in Leicester players from Gameweek 30? I'm assuming it would be selling an Arsenal player that you would otherwise be benching.
Yeah.
But
well, I
you
mean,
might want
they're
back in 29,
bench
right?
boosting. They'd be playing them as a bench boost. They're playing all of their players.
Oh, right. I
So,
read bench boost 29.
yeah. So would you sell would you sell Ben White, for example, for a double game week player for your bench boost? I don't think I would do Saka. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be like, I'm going to go Saka to Kulisevsky. Well, it'd be a doubler. I'd be like, I'm going to go Saka to Mount. I wouldn't do that. I guess it depends on your. I think a doubling goalkeeper is probably the staple of a bench boost. So I would probably sell Ramsdale for a doubling goalkeeper, especially if you have cover for 30 as well, or it keeps you cover for 30. So I would go Ramsdale to Saw this week. I would consider Ramsdale to Dubravka, maybe. But in general, I don't think so. I think they've got such good fixtures going forward. You want them for 29. You want them for 30. I guess if you're hokey cokeying, is that what they say?
Yeah.
We call it hokey pokey, which actually kind of sounds a little.
It's way better.
Yeah, hokey cokey is better. No, I prefer hokey cokey over hokey pokey. Pokey is kind of like, I don't know. That seems like
way more fun.
Boundary issue. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it depends. I think it depends on the Arsenal player you're planning on selling and whether you're going to want to write back.
Okay. I think I would keep the Arsenal player and value more the free transfer, given that they have a decent fixture. Nehal has the next question. Thoughts on these transfers? Bruno to Rafinha, Dawson to Rudiger for a -4, and Bowen to Saka for a -8 to bench boost. Going to bench boost Ramsdale, Saka, King, and Livramento.
I mean, on paper it sounds good. I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, will there be better opportunities to bench boost? So you got Livramento in a double, which is good, but he has a bit of a rotation risk. Although I guess it depends on Kyle Walker-Peters' injury status because he got injured in the cup. So he might be nailed, which actually is something to consider on Wildcard. You've got such a good 11 that your bench is like King and Livramento and I don't know. If you've got such a strong 11,
I feel like you're doing backflips to try to bench boost when you don't need to.
That's
when
what
we have 36.
Because basically, like a good bench boost might be like 16 to 20 points, and you've already lost half of that with your hits.
Exactly.
So there might be better opportunities to bench boost in the future. And so I think it sounds like you've got a really strong 11 if that's your bench. Like if you've got such a strong 11 that you're going to be benching a double game week player in King and Saka, I think you're probably just going to get a green arrow anyways. So
I like the -4. I would do Bruno to Rafinha and Dawson to Rudiger, and
I agree.
At that.
Yep, I know, absolutely. I think the -4 is good. But I wouldn't bench boost.
Yeah, I agree. So next one from FPL Dallas: should I bench Gabriel or Martinelli?
So away Watford, who are terrible in attack and sometimes terrible in defense.
And Arsenal they've not been good away this season.
Yeah, this is a rough one. Martinelli is maybe a bit of a rotation risk, certainly more so than Gabriel, but I don't think he's a super big rotation risk. I think he's first choice left wing. What I don't know. What would you do, Gabe?
I mean, I think I would probably bench Martinelli. I think I'd bank on the clean sheet from Gabriel. Maybe a set piece, something or other. I know a lot of people say, play the attacking player. But what if Martinelli's benched? What if he can?
That's
he could
the
come
big.
on.
Yeah, if this was Saka or Gabriel, I would say play Saka for sure.
Exactly, I agree.
I think Watford is going to be forced to come out a little bit and try to attack. I mean, they can't just be like park the bus at home. Their fans will not be happy if they're just completely parking the bus at home.
Yeah, if it's working, if I don't know, but yeah, I think I'd go the defender just because of the potential rotation risk. If there is one, maybe we have some Arsenal fans that'll tell us if maybe there's less of a risk than we think. Moving on quickly here because we're at the 2-hour mark. FPL Nasri on a wildcard free hit 30. I'm debating Son plus Matip plus Cancelo versus Tierney plus Robbo plus Rafinha. What do you think? Tough without any context and without seeing your team.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the best things you would want like a Arsenal player for is the fact that they also play in 30, but without that, their 29 double isn't like great. Well, it has one good fixture and it also has one bad fixture.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I love Tierney as a pick.
Yeah, not crazy about that pick.
I think Rafinha is good, but if it's between him and Son, I don't know. There's a lot of free parts in here. If there's a way to if there's a way to get those are two defensive spots. Cancelo and Tierney.
I think we need more context. We need to know more
really
things about your team.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I really don't know. I'm sorry.
Let's go quick fire for the next few here. Keelan Peak, Jimenez or Laka?
Laka.
Neither.
Neither is probably.
Back to FPL Nasri on a wild. Oh no, sorry, just did that one. My bad. Here's Will Wood, VVD to Chelsea defender for -4 to facilitate Jota in 29.
No, not for me. I just don't think Jota is enough of a lock because now that they've got 4 attackers up there that could play those 3 spots.
Yeah,
or 5 attackers for 3 spots actually. Yeah,
fair enough. Anything else? I think that might be it. All right, we're good.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Just Casey, thank you, my friend. Thanks for filling in here. It would have been very lonely without you, so I appreciate you, brother. And I don't know, you've broken your duck. You got to do this again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to be a substitute whenever you need it.
Super sub Casey.
Yeah, I'll be the 92nd minute time waster if that's all you need too. It's whatever you want.
Fair enough.
Now, if you sub me on and then sub me off, I might have problems though. So we'll see. We'll
keep you healthy. Okay. Thanks to all the haulers for joining us in the chat. It was a great chat. Do remember to like, subscribe, and join us. Buy us a cup of coffee, buy us a beer. We'll get you back with even more great content. And happy travels to Nima, who's weighed. I think he's weighed down right now with too much haggis. He's in Scotland, and Mariner, who's by the sea in Grimsby. Grimsby Town, apparently one of the few stadiums that is below sea level. So they're actually quite concerned about climate change because their stadium's in danger.
Yeah, that's not great. I worry about that with Everton's new stadium too. That's right on the coast. Great. And
let's see. I'm gonna have to press more buttons here. I don't know which one to press. I don't know what's going on anymore. I guess I'll do the show clip, whatever that is. I don't know what button I'm gonna press, but I know I missed one. I missed a button earlier, so I'm gonna press that button now. Thanks again. Good luck in double Gameweek 28, everybody. Reach out on Twitter. I'm at FPL Lands. Casey's at FPL_tornado. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Are you craving more FPL content? Then look no further than allaboutfpl.com. Head over there for weekly articles from some of the top content creators on the planet. So what are you waiting for? Head over to allaboutfpl.com, the website for all your FPL needs.